Welcome everyone. While we wait until it's 10 o'clock, if you don't mind to share with us where you're coming from in the chat, that would be fun to see where you're from. From Denver, Mr. Keen. From Spain. Wow, that's exciting. I'm sure your temperature is warmer than for us in Canada. For those who just joined, if you want to share with us where you're coming from in the chat room, that would be great. So we'll start. It's 10 o'clock. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this Robotiq automation talks that will be dedicated to Eckerts Distillery success story. So my name is Michelle Vallée. I'm the marketing director for Robotiq, and I'm joined today with my colleague, Etienne Sanson, application director. Hello, Etienne.
Hello, Michelle.
How are you?
Very good. Happy Halloween.
Yeah, happy Halloween. Uh, we warn you because Etienne is in the office of Robotiq in Canada. So you may see some of our colleagues walking behind him, all costumed. So we take very seriously uh, Halloween at Robotiq. So, jokes aside, while Etienne will be leading most of this webinar, I will be checking for questions you may have. So please don't hesitate during the webinar to ask your question. If you're not familiar with this platform that we're using today, to communicate your question, look at the top right-hand side of the screen. You will notice an icon by the shape of a comment box. At the center, a question mark. So this is the button that you want to hit and communicate your question. So I'll try my best to answer all of them during the webinar, but if there are questions that I can't or I think everybody would benefit from, we'll make sure to address them at the end of this session. So what's the agenda for the next 55 minutes? Obviously, we will be talking about Eckerts Distillery. We will be showing what are the challenges that this company faced and that prompt them to look for automation and more specifically automate their end of line. And obviously, what is the solution that Robotiq kind of suggested to them? We will be talking also with Etienne what was the project management process that Robotiq is using for any automation projects that we are leading. We always do it following a very precise process, which is the lean robotics. As you could guess, is based on lean manufacturing process or fundamentals. So we will go through it and you will see the benefits of why we're using this process that is our own. One question that we often hear from customers who are thinking to move to automation when it comes to palletizing is what the cost of it, what's my payback period? So there is actually the initial cost of the equipment, but there's way more than that. So Etienne will cover all the costs that you should consider in order to have a fair appreciation of your payback period. Finally, if you're ready or we have convinced you to move on to your first palletizing project, what are the main steps that you could be looking at? And we will make sure we dedicate some few minutes at the end to answer questions. If you want to make it more lively during this session, please use the React function. At the very bottom of your screen, you'll see a hand, or actually a right hand. So use it to give us a thumbs up, or if you want to raise hands, so that kind of warn me towards the questions you may have. Sounds good? So let's move on. Eckerts. This is a very small company from Germany. It's a distillery company, as I mentioned, of 50 employees. We first started with one palletizer, and they quickly move on to a second one, and Etienne will give us a little more details about their decision to move on. What best than a video to show you who's Eckerts and how they use our palletizer. So we'll show you a 2-minute video. Hold on.
Dieser Roboter palettiert unsere Paletten.
Es geht darum, den Leuten eine Arbeit zu erleichtern und Personalkosten einzusparen. Ich bin der Andreas Klemmt, ich bin Produktionsleiter im Unternehmen.
Mein Name ist Elisabeth Kilian und ich arbeite seit 2018 bei Eckerts Wacholder.
Wir waren skeptisch, weil unsere Kartonage sehr grenzwertig ist. Wir können leider nicht besser, weil unser Kunde sagt, diese Kartonage will er. Wir haben unsere schlechtesten und die schwersten Kartons nach Lyon geschickt und als sie uns das okay gegeben haben, haben wir bestellt.
Dann wurde eine Schulung gemacht, hat er uns alles genau erklärt, auch wenn Störung ist. Und am nächsten Tag habe ich ihn bedient.
Für uns ist es natürlich sehr, sehr wichtig gewesen, dass wir den Roboter nicht einhausen müssen, weil wir dann mehr Produktionsfläche zur Verfügung haben.
Wenn jemand ihm zu nahe kommt, bleibt er ja stehen.
Weil es wird immer mal jemand reinlaufen und gegen den Roboter. Und dann ist halt wichtig, dass kein Arbeitsunfall passiert. Und das ist hier gewährleistet.
Ich finde es super. Ich gebe ihn auch nicht mehr her.
Das ist mit das Beste, was wir die letzten Jahre gekauft haben. Die Anlage läuft vom ersten Tag am Zähler los.
Good. So for those of you who may not be that familiar with who Robotiq is we actually free human hands from repetitive tasks. How we do it? We design and manufacture application solution for industries. So our applications, obviously, like we will be talking today, include palletizing, but just so you know, we also have great solution for machine tending and screw driving. So we are celebrating our 16 years of anniversary this year, and we count roughly 150 colleagues in North America and across the globe. And we're proud ourselves to have the largest network of partners in the industry, where in fact we have 200 partners across the globe. So no matter where you are, you can have local support from Robotiq. Speaking of palletizing solution, right now, at the moment we speak, there are 600 units working right now and are freeing up human hands from palletizing. So that's great. These are a few logos of our customers that are using our palletizing solutions. So obviously you can see that we have Fortune 500 logos such as Pepsi, Mars, or Pfizer. But we also have very small companies, just like Eckerts that we will be talking today, 50 employees. So just this is just to tell you that our solution are accessible, yes, to big companies, but also to very small companies. They can really see the benefit of our solution, and it is accessible to them. So, Etienne, when we think of Eckerts, what were the main challenges that they face and that prompt them to stop doing their palletizing manually?
Yeah, well, Eckerts, like you said, it's a small or medium-sized food business, beverage, in fact, in this case. And like most of these type of companies, they have challenges with labor. We didn't see in the video outside of the factory, but they are really like remote. It's green hills surrounding the factory, small village. So of course they have problems hiring. The workforce is aging, people are retiring, and the younger people that they can hire, they just don't want to do this kind of manual tasks. So it's really typical across pretty much all the regions we cover that like food industry will usually be close to their resource. So in this case, they're close to apples. So it's outside of like urban centers. So it's just tough to get people. So they need to have a solution for labor. That's really what's driving the project.
I see. And when we talk about the projects, what were the main challenges that you and your team faced to implement a automated palletizer from Robotiq?
Well, it's always a little bit different. This one was really easy, we have to say. So we have some content to show today because there's always a little something that we need to tackle. But it was an easy project. You will see it when we cover the cost of the project. The cost was not very high because it was easy. One of the small challenge we had was to adapt our gripping solution for the boxes. For those who know a little bit about automation, listening to us, you probably look at that box and you say, "Oh, wow, that's really horrible." So yeah, the boxes were like in poor condition for automation. Like the top is not very solid. You can see it. The cardboard is bending and everything. So that's really not ideal if you want to automate. So we had to make sure that our gripping would be reliable. So we had to adapt our standard gripper for that. Um, and then if you go to the next one, we had also the challenge to support the conveyors. If you go to the next slide, you'll see how it was done in the end. But basically, they had conveyors that were not. Oh, it's the tight space before. Sorry. We had tight space and then the conveyor. So we had the challenge you see on the right is where we install. So it's crowded, a lot of people in. Uh, these guys at Eckerts, they already had industrial robot installed. That's what you see on the left. You see the space it takes on the floor. It's just not possible to have it on the end of line that you see on the right. There's just a lot of lines close to one another, people working alongside, and people who have to go in between. So it's just not possible to put an industrial robot and fence it. It just takes too much space. Then you need to reorganize your whole floor. It costs a lot, and sometimes it's just not possible. So we had to tackle the tight space, but with a cobot solution like we have, it's really easy. So it would have been a challenge with an industrial robot, but for us, it was not a challenge. It's easy to deploy in such a tight environment for us.
Would you say, Etienne, that the floor space that our palletizer is taking is larger or wider than when they did manually, or it was about the same space that is now dedicated to the cobot than it was for the employees?
Yeah, very good question. It's usually the same. So most of the time we don't have to move anything on the floor, and we just install. So you see the width, what you see in the middle, the column in black in front of that person, that's our palletizer base, and you see the width of that is less than a pallet. So usually it fits where you have manual palletizing, and you don't need to move anything on the floor. So that's really a strong advantage of using a cobot solution from Robotiq, because then Of course, you have no cost. You don't need to reorganize your floor. You just put it there.
Good. Did you want to add something else on this?
No, I think the next one is about the conveyors. That's what I was saying a bit earlier. That's the other small challenge that we have is that we had to adapt the conveyors of the customer. So go to the next slide, and we'll see what I'm talking about.
Perfect.
The,
So we will go into
oh yeah,
the project management process. So the very first phase that we call it with the lean robotics principle is the design. So how do customer evaluate their palletizing project if they want to jump into cobots? Are we providing anything so they can have a fair estimate or sort of an
yeah.
evaluation?
The first step is to check the feasibility. And with our solution that's standard, it's really easy to do. You just go to our website and you have access to our online configurator. So that's what you would use to de-risk your project to check if it's feasible. This configurator will also tell you what solution fits best your scenario. So basically, what you need to have at end to do that is you need to know, of course, what you will palletize. So the boxes that you will need, you need to have your box dimension and weight. That's what we're seeing on the screen right now. And then you need to tell the simulator what pattern of palletizing it will be doing, how many layers, so how high will you go, and then you need to tell it the conveyor, what's its position, how high is the conveyor, how wide, etc. Then the simulator will just do its magic and tell you if it's working and with which solution. It will tell you also what throughput you get, so how many boxes per minute you can handle. So with this, normally you will be able to know like if it's working, if it meets your requirement. I won't go into the details because you can play with a lot of parameters in terms of speed and etc. But the default configuration is really the most common one that we use, and you just put your box and pallet pattern, and it works. So that's really the starting point.
Perfect. Wow, that sounds easy to use actually.
It is.
After the project evaluation was done, what solution was selected for Eckerts?
Yeah, well, before answering, I'll just take a step back to explain our whole line of solutions. So we have a complete line of product since our last webinar. So since last month, everything has changed a bit because the payload has been increased on the UR robot that we use, the UR20 and the UR30. They had a payload increase, and now they can lift 5 kg more. So the UR20 now can lift 25 kg. That's like 50, 55 pounds, I think, for the Americans listening to us. And the UR30 is now up to 35 kg. So this has changed our whole line of products. So if you go to the next slide, we'll see the full line. So now that's everything that we offer for palletizing. So you have on the left the palletizer that are with 7-axis. So the whole robot is moving up and down. That's meant to do high pallets, and we offer it with the UR10, the UR20, and the UR30. The difference will be mainly the payload that you get. So for heavier boxes. On the right, it's the solutions based with the same robot but mounted on a pedestal. So a fixed pedestal. The robot is just sitting on that column and doing its job. So the difference with that is that the pallet height will be lower. But then for many application, it's a very good fit for collaborative use. We'll talk about it later, but with a fixed pedestal, we can do that. And for Eckerts, that's what we pick, the P20. The P20 that can now lift up to 25 kg minus the tool weight, by the way. 25 kg is the payload of the robot. We need to take out the tool weight, so 2 to 3 kilogram roughly. So we can have boxes up to 22, 23. More than that would be a challenge. And by the way, it's not very common to have boxes that are so heavy. So The advantage of that is that we can pick more than one box at a time. That's what we most of the time do to have better throughput. So if you have 10 kg boxes, you pick them 2 by 2, so you have a better throughput. That's the advantage of this payload. It comes with our software. Yeah, stay on it a minute, Michel. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. The software that is the same for all the solution that I was showing in the previous slide. So all the different solution, they have the same free software. Our URCAP, it comes with the trajectory planning software, basically for the end user. So for those listening to us, you just type in your box information, pallet information, and pattern, just like in the simulator, and then the robot will automatically do its trajectories, pick the boxes, and place them. The only robot programming you need to do is to teach the pick position. So where the boxes are, you need to take your robot, show it where the boxes are, and then everything else is automatic, the motion, all the logic with the HMI. You see on this pictures that we have stack lights that will tell you if your pallets are full, if you need to change the pallets, if there's any error. That's all embedded in the project. You have nothing to touch on that, and it's ready for collaborative use. That's what we did in this project at Eckerts. So collaborative means it's running without any fences or scanners or anything like that. It's limited in speed and force, so it can work next to the operators. That's really the main one of the main reason to use this one in this project. We've seen the crowded space on the factory floor, so having a bigger robot or one with a linear axis would require fencing, and it would take too much space. So we keep to this one. It has the capability to go into a collaborative mode. And delivery and setup is just the same in pretty much all of our solutions. So we deliver in 2 weeks, and we install. It's typical 1 or 2 day. Usually we have an extra day to give training, but that's really the typical thing.
Good.
Yep. With this project, for those who have good eyes, at the very beginning, we showed the number of units. It was 1+1. We added the +1 recently because the customer Eckerts, they just ordered the second unit. It's really easy to scale when you have a standard solution like we have. Of course, when we installed the first unit, they had a small learning curve. Of course, they need to learn how to use a new machine, but it was really quickly adopted. And within less than 3 months, they ordered the second unit. So right now, this fall, we're in the process of delivering and installing that second unit as we speak.
Yeah. So now, if we move to the phase of the integration, can you give a perspective of the timeline for the project deployment?
Yep. Well, this one was our record holder. Basically, it's the fastest, quickest project we did so far at Robotiq. So to give exact dates, well, we met the end user at the industry event for beverage industry specifically last fall. Then, of course, there's some ping pong of communication. What are you trying to do? How it's going to cost, etc. So it takes a while to just settle the deal. But we confirmed the order on May 30, if I remember correctly. And on June 24th, we did the installation. So it's even a little bit less than 4 weeks from the order to the commissioning of the palletizer. That's the fastest we ever did. So we're quite proud of that. We got the confirmation of a second order last month, and now we're going to install next month for a very similar application again. So that's exceptionally fast.
Nice.
And the typical deployment, that's unless the project is really like complex, it's pretty much always like this. So we take the first day is to like set up, so assemble and install on the line. So assemble means like take the robot and the palletizer out of the crate, put them together, commission on the line, we bolt everything, we wire everything. That's usually takes like less than a day, it's half a day. And then we start programming and make sure that everything works. So normally after the first day, everything is working and we're ready to start pre-production on the second day. The second day, I'll ask the customer, okay, start your production, and then we let the robot work. And it's typical that we have to fine tune to adjust for whatever inaccuracies or increasing speed or any kind of fine tuning that we need. So normally the second day we're actually in production, and at the end of the second day we just don't touch it ever again, and it keeps on working pretty much forever. So that's really quick. The third day we typically give trainings to our customers, like training for the operators, how to operate it, how to start it, how to load a recipe. It's common that they have multiple different recipe. How to change the pallet, basic troubleshooting, and we also give a training that's more advanced, usually to maintenance people, like how to change, how to do more advanced troubleshooting. There's not a lot of maintenance on the solution. It's basically changing the cups and cleaning filters, but we still need to show them how to do that. So that's pretty much it for the deployment.
It looks so simple, and I guess after 600 unit install, you pretty much have seen all scenarios possible.
Well, I still have some surprises. that's that's the nice part of our job, is that every customer has a little something that's different, but then it's always the same common thread, I'd say, with our solution, and just like a small adjustment for the reality of all of our customers. So there's always a little something new. Otherwise, I would be bored. But
Oh, so that's a good side of it.
yeah.
So when it comes to operation now, can you talk to us about the actual costs of automating an end of line?
Yep. The cost, we'll see the cost calculation. They are really low. The return on investment also we'll be looking at it. It's saving on personnel. That's what the Andreas, the projection manager, is telling us. There's also the saving in terms of ergonomics. So like you don't have people that get injured. That's a little bit hard to put numbers on that. So if we go to the next one, we'll see the cost and the return on investment. The return on investment is only based on saving employee cost. So we are not looking at all the other savings that you have in terms of ergonomics and all of that. So that's the slide with a lot of numbers, but basically on the left, the baseline is what you have before the project is going through. So that's the initial, without automation, they had 2 guys running on a shift. They have a classic 8-hour shift and they just do 1 shift a day. So that's really a scenario with, for us, it's a low production scenario. A high production, like they would be running 3 shifts a day, 24/7. That's not the case in this business. It's a small business, so they just do a single shift and they work just the weeks. Nobody has to work on Saturday night over there. That's really good for them. So we're looking at 2 employees, and then we have the yearly cost over there for the 2 employees with the social benefits and everything. So that gives you basically the yearly cost of doing handmade palletizing, 103,000. And then at the middle, we look at the investment, how much it costs for the palletizing. In this scenario, I told you it's a simple project, so there was really nothing custom. The only custom we had to do was to modify a little bit our gripper, increase the amount of cups. That's what we did. It's really low cost. There was nothing else. So the palletizing cost over there, 87,000. That's really close to our cheapest scenario. They had to modify their conveyors. So there's a cost associated to that. That was done by the end user. So they have some technical people that were able to do it. Sometimes we do it, sometimes the end user do it. We're open to both. but they did it. It was fairly low cost. They had to do some small rearrangement related to the conveyor. They have to get a pneumatic line for the robot. We need compressed air. They have to get electricity. It's a standard outlet, so it's fairly cheap to do. It's not like an industrial robot that requires three-phase electricity. It's much more expensive to set up. With our cobot, it's just a standard outlet like any device you have at home. So you have the total cost of the project, 94,000. And then finally on the right, that's the scenario after the automation. So you see basically the savings that we have is that you go down from 2 people tending the line to half a people. That means that basically this employee only needs to change the pallets, put new pallets in and take the pallets that are full out. So of course he's not doing that full time. That's why you see a 0.5. And then the last little part we have at the bottom right is the maintenance cost. So it's really low. That's the cost of changing cups, electricity, and air. So if we take the yearly cost minus the potential scenario, that's your yearly savings. So you would save close to 75. On the next slide, we'll have a graph that shows you your return on investment with that saving. So basically, in green, it's your investment. You buy the palletizer, and then you have your annual saving in gray. They have a saving of close to 75,000 per year. And then you see your return on investment in blue that really comes in quickly. So the ROI, it's common that people calculate that in terms of year or months. So in this one, it's 14 or let's say 15 months before they have their payback. So it's really fast. Another way to look at the cost is to check the cost of the robot cell. That's over 5 years, by the way, which is not very long. So if we look at it over 10 years, then the hourly cost will be lower. So we have 24 per hour. It's all in euros. This project was in Germany, but that would be roughly the same in US dollars. So you can know, you can justify very quickly such a project. Of course, these guys are at 35 an hour. The robot is at 24 over 5 years, but this robot is expected to last much longer than that. So 10 years is realistic or even more. So the payback is real quick. And that's not a special scenario. It's the kind of ROI I see every day. So it's just an average scenario. If you have customers who have like 2 or 3 shifts a day, the payback is really, really fast. This one is a single shift a day, and it still makes sense to invest.
Exactly. So that proves that cobot for palletizing is accessible to everybody. So that's a nice case. How you start your project? Can you give us a little steps that you would find the first step for anyone on the line that would be interested to kick off such project?
Yeah, well, the easiest, the entry point should be just contact us via our website. If you're shy, you can just go on your own and go on our online configurator and check your own things. But if you want to talk with us and get help, just get in contact with us, explain your project. Make sure you have at end what you see on the top right over there, your boxes and pallet scheme. Make sure you have that at least so that you know what we have to do. And then we'll be able to start from there. So you don't need much to get going. So that's it. And of course, we have a network of partners. I know a lot of them are listening to us today. So you can contact Robotiq, and we'll point you toward our local partner after qualifying your project.
Perfect. Wow, so that's great because we have some room to handle the questions that we got in the chat, which are we do have very good questions. Etienne, would you mind to give us more information about the safety features that a cobot such as our would require, and also give us a perspective if there are any differences or limitation if you're in Europe or in North America? The question is coming from UK.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, it's a really common. I think we have to explain that pretty much every day, so I should be able. Well, first of all, we need to understand that the robot we're using is an industrial robot with a collaborative mode. So sometimes people like think that cobots are different than industrial robot or etc. Well, this robot is an industrial robot that can be configured as a cobot via just software parameters. So the same cobot, I can put it at maximum speed, maximum force. It would be really powerful, like an industrial robot, and then we would need to fence it or put safeguards or scanners, light curtains, whatever. But in this scenario that we have today, it's limited in speed and force, which allows it to become safe. So if you have a collision with the robot, it would detect it and stop, and the collision would be harmless, basically. That's the idea of collaborative application. It means that it's not intended to bump into you, of course, but if it happens, there's no danger for you. So we can work without fences alongside human. That's of course that's one aspect, the robot in itself, but we always look at the whole application. Each of them are a bit different. We need to look at the other risks that are present in the application to be able to say that the application is collaborative. So for example, if we had some scenarios where we are palletizing something that's not a box, something that's like you can imagine a metal rod that can become dangerous even if the robot is safe. So if you move a metal rod around, then that it's basically a sharp stick. You cannot be in collaborative mode. So that's what we do, and we basically use the same regulation across the European regulation are our standard, and we use them also for our North American risk assessment. Then there's always a little bit of twist with the local regulations that we also need to consider, but basically we use the ISO standard and the CE regulation as a standard for all of our projects.
Great. Are you aware if we have ever tested foam gripper?
Yeah, we do. We tested foam grippers. We do use them from time to time. There's always, in fact, in the engineering team at Robotiq, we always have the pro foam and the anti foam. So we have like two ways of thinking about that. But personally, I only use them if we don't have any other option. So foam grippers are a good fit for irregular shapes. Um, Basically, if we have anything else that can be used with cups, I always use cups first because, in my opinion, they are more reliable and they last longer. A foam gripper is always very nice for demonstration because it can pick almost anything, so it looks like pure magic. But the thing is, over time, it wears out more rapidly than a cup, and it leads to more maintenance cost. But at least with a foam gripper, you can pick almost anything. So for some funky application, we would use them. For cardboard, we just stick with suction cups.
I see. Thank you.
Yep.
Somebody's asking about our turnkey solution, and for those who may not be familiar with the term, what we mean by that, turnkey solution is a full project management taken care of by Robotiq, so the installation and everything is being taken care of. So the customer is asking if we include in our turnkey solution modification of the conveyors, and if so, are there an additional cost?
Yeah, so we have a good question. We have that available. So basically, the turnkey solution is what the integrator will offer. Like you said, Robotiq is doing integration service now. We call it installation service. So, but it's more than just installation. We actually do integration. So we can install conveyors, we can modify them. In this today's case study is very simple, so you don't see a lot of what we can do in terms of modules or options, but we can provide modules for interlayers handling, for example. That's roughly 50 or 60% of our application requires that. So if you have cardboard in between the layers, you need to have a dispenser for that, and it's usually custom built. So we do this. Conveyors, it's quite common that we have to add a conveyor because the end user, they have only, for example, gravity chute with rollers. So we need to build something that's controlled by the robot to have a reliable application. So we can provide conveyors. It's also quite common that we have to merge different lines. So very common that we have to merge two lines, for example, for one palletizer. That's something we do commonly. And then previously you were asking me about the safety. So if we have to provide safeguards, we can provide them, either fences, scanners, light curtains, or a mix of them. That's all part of our solution. So we provide in our services everything that comes around the palletizer, basically.
Perfect. Question about our configurator or simulator, if we want to say. The question is, do you think or do you know if we have in plan to add the hot melt option instead of using the wrap for the palletization?
It's in the simulation right now. You have nothing to. I think he's referring to shrink wrap or the plastic you put around the pallet after.
Mhm.
We don't simulate that after. Basically, we just look at the process of palletizing and everything. That's what we're looking at. In our online simulators, you can in one of the tabs you can add custom delays. So if you have anything that put a delay in your process, you can simulate it with that. So I've seen some customer, for example, that we need to palletize 2 or 3 layers, whatever, and then we need to put some wrap, and then you continue. You can put in the configurator delays into timers, basically. So you can say between layer 2 and 3, there's a 15 seconds delay. You can put that in the configurator and it will replicate basically your process. If I got the question right, I'm not 100% sure.
Good. Is there an alarm that comes out if the robot gets overloaded?
It will be detecting that there's an overload, so it will go into what we call a protective stop. And we provide stack lights with our solution. The stack lights will go and turn yellow if there's anything going wrong, or red if you push the emergency stop, or if there's another kind of fault. So the operator will see that something's wrong and the robot will just stop. You need to go to the teach pendant of the robot, check what the problem is, and then you can just clear the fault and continue, or stop and restart if it's more a bigger problem. But yeah, it will detect this overload.
Good. How often would you say that we do updates on our software?
Oof, I lose track of them, so it's quite often. No, we try, of course, to bundle our updates. So that's first of all for our partners, it's easier to just follow the pace of innovation. So we could be updating every week, but that's not what we're doing. We're bundling our updates together in UR Cap. UR Caps are the software that you put on the cobot from Robotiq. So we bundle them. We must be doing once a month. Major updates with big features, maybe once a quarter. Uh, but to be honest, I lost track of them. There has been, of course, a lot of improvement and innovation since we launched a few years ago. Yeah, so we just never stop. There's a bunch of people next to me that are doing the next update.
Yeah, and that is our main strength. If one of our main strength, the updates and the power of our software being all constantly up to date with cases that we see and how we can address. So, are there annual maintenance costs required that you can think of?
On this solution that we've seen today is very low maintenance. The P10 and the P20 are with fixed pedestal, so there's not a lot of moving part. There's just the robot, and the robot is basically maintenance free, so you have nothing to do on the robot. The only thing that wears out with time is on the tool. It's the suction cups. But basically, if you run 3 shifts a year, normally you change them once per year. Three shift a day. Sorry, if you run a single shift a day, it takes 2 or 3 years to wear out. So it's quite low maintenance. We had a question previously about foam grippers. Foam grippers, you would change them 2 or 3 times more than the suction cups. But that's basically it. That's the tool. Otherwise, there's on the cabinet, the PLC and the robot controller, you have fans and they have filters. You need to clean the filters. Normally, you don't need to do that very often, but I've seen some customers that have very dusty environment, so you had to clean them like every week. But that was an exception. So normally, it's really low maintenance.
Okay, cool. Do you recall if we've done any palletizing project with plastic totes or box without an open top?
Yeah, we get a lot of requests for that. We have some deployed. How we do it is every of those bins, I call them, are a little bit different. So ideally, we would pick them with a gripper from the inside. So instead of having suction cups, it's really with the standard mechanical gripper. And it happens that Robotiq is very good at grippers. So we just use one of our standard grippers, ideally, and we modify it to pick the bin from the inside and place it. Sometimes it's not possible. It depends. All of them are a little bit different. Sometimes the boxes have handles, so you can come below the handles and lift the boxes. Typically, the gripping those bins or case or whatever is not a big challenge. It's more about handling the insertion after that. So because when you will palletize them, usually they are inserted in one another. But we can do that because the robot has force sensing capabilities and we have Robotiq software for that. So basically, you can detect that you insert your box into the next one. Basically, typically they will come in a pile. So you will have a pile of those bins, and you need to insert them into one another. So it's a bit more work than just picking cardboard case, but it's perfectly feasible.
So, okay,
Long
so that
story short.
confirms that our grippers are changeable. That was another questions we had.
Yes. Yep.
Um, I think that do you have other questions that comes to your mind, Etienne, that you often get from customers that perhaps you could share with us?
Well, the typical things are about the gripping and the safety. We talked about them. There's the number of SKUs and the number of lines. It's not always clear for our customer, but basically the palletizer can palletize left and right 2 pallets. So it's possible to palletize at the same time with the same palletizer 2 different kind of boxes or SKUs. So you put one left and one right. We often get that question. That's perfectly possible. The number of SKUs that you can have, it's unlimited. And when you start the palletizer, you just have a drop-down menu. And the operator select today I'm doing SKU number 1 or number 74. That's not a problem. There's no limit to that. But otherwise, I think we covered the main ones. Yeah, good questions today.
We just got a new one from Albert. How about the picking point? Is that application was a challenge?
This one, no, it was we've seen it very quickly, but the conveyor basically had rails. So you have one that's fixed, the other one is diagonal, and there's a stopper. So the box is always falling down on the same corner, and they do not have a lot of SKUs. I'm trying to remember. I think they have like 6 different box size or something like this. So it's not too much. It was not really not a challenge. We have some other project where it's more of a challenge and you need to have something to center the boxes because that's really the key to have a good palletizing application is to have a repeatable pick position. So the box always at the same spot. So in some situation, we need to put actuators. So you have something pushing the box always in the same corner. So with that, you could have boxes of all kind of shapes, but basically you put them in the same corners. Sometimes we use conveyors with we call them active belts. So a conveyor belt that can reorient the box in the same corner. That's really cool. It's also really expensive. so I do not use it too often. But yeah,
It
that's
can be
about it.
done. That's
Yep,
nice.
can be done.
Another question we just got, could you palletize one project on one side and on the other side depalletize with the same unit?
Yes. Yeah, in fact, I'm working for a customer who has that, and I'm supposed to be with them in a call in 15 minutes, so we'll need to hang out at some point. But yeah, it's possible. It's more programming, but depalletizing is perfectly possible with our solution. It's in our software, so it's not more complicated to do. So if you have a conveyor coming in, you palletize on the left. That's just the normal way of doing it. And if you have a pallet on the right that you depalletize on another conveyor, that's also just perfectly possible. Then you just need to have those two things in the program, and you need to organize your logic. So are you doing one box left and then depalletize one right? So you need some adjustment, but it's perfectly possible. The customer I'm speaking with in a couple of minutes, you see they have batch production. So they produce a first batch, it goes on the left, and then after that they change upstream their batch, and they need to put back into the first boxes. So we depalletize after that, send back the boxes, they put more items into it, and they come back for palletizing. So the same process is palletizing and depalletizing. We also have that in a lot of warehouse where you need to change pallet size. So for example, they need to go from a Euro to a US size pallet. So they would palletize one and depalletize the other, or sometimes you need to stack higher pallets. So you would depalletize two small pallets to palletize a bigger one later. That's also quite common in warehousing.
Wow, that's great. So we covered all the questions. So before you leave, we will show you on your screen a very short poll. It's actually just one question, and it's about if you would like us to contact you. Um, to answer more of your questions you may have, or perhaps help you to start your project. So if you don't mind to give us your answer before you leave. And otherwise, Etienne and I think we thank you again for your time. It was exciting to see your enthusiasm about the topic by your questions. Um, Hopefully we will see you again at another robotic automation talks. And yeah, Etienne, did you want to add anything?
No, that's all. Time for candies. Happy Halloween.
It's true. Happy Halloween, everybody. Bye bye.
Goodbye.